Today, we're diving into a fascinating legal showdown that pits an AI innovator against the U.S. Patent Office. And believe me, this case is way more than just one patent. It's a huge decision that could actually rewrite the rules for protecting AI innovation itself.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the AI tech at the heart of this whole thing. Then, we'll look at why the Patent Office said, no way. And finally, the best part, we'll see how the inventors flipped the script in a pretty stunning appeal that has some major implications for the future.
So, let's start with the invention itself. What exactly did these innovators create? Well, at its core, it's a really smart AI system, built to make business automation way, way better. It's kind of like teaching software robots to not just follow a script, but to actually learn and get better at their jobs all on their own.
Now, this all lives in the world of robotic process automation, or RPA. If you're not familiar, just think of these as software bots that handle all the boring, repetitive digital stuff, like data entry or processing forms, freeing up human workers to do more important, creative work.
This right here is the inventor's secret sauce. It's a 5-step method. First, the system puts these little listeners out there to watch how both humans and the current bots are doing their tasks. It gathers up all that data, stores it, and then, and this is the really cool part, it uses multiple layers of AI to analyze everything. From that analysis, it automatically spits out a brand new, more efficient workflow, which directly boosts a company's return on investment.
So you'd think, wow, that's pretty innovative, right? Well, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, the USPTO, they didn't see it that way. In fact, they shut it down completely, rejecting all 20 claims in the patent application, a total roadblock. The rejection really came down to two big legal roadblocks. First, under Patent Law Section 101, the examiner basically said the invention was just an abstract idea, kind of like a math equation, which you can't patent. And second, under Section 103, they said it was obvious, that anyone with some skill in the field could have just slapped together some existing tech to make the same thing. But the inventors, who are from the company UiPath, they were not about to take this lying down. Nope. They appealed the decision, taking their fight to the Patent Trial and Appeal Board. And this move set the stage for a really critical legal battle over the future of AI patents. And this table just lays out the core of the fight perfectly. On the abstract idea point, the examiner said the AI was just generic. The inventors shot back, no, our specific use of multiple AI layers to create a new workflow is a real practical thing. And for the obviousness claim, they argued that the examiner's logic was just plain weird. Why would anyone try to combine a system that predicts failures with a system that optimizes performance? The two goals are complete opposites. So, with all that on the table, the case landed in front of the Patent Trial and Appeal Board. This is a panel of 3 administrative patent judges, and they were going to have the final word. Which brings us to the big question, right? After hearing everything from both sides, were the judges going to stick with the examiner's rejection, or were they going to side with the inventor? And in a truly decisive plot twist, the board completely reversed the examiner's decision. And get this, not just on a few claims. They reversed on every single one. All of them. Okay, so how on earth did they pull that off? Understanding why the board made this call is the key to this whole story, because it basically gives us a playbook for how to patent an AI invention. Let's start with that abstract idea rejection. The board's reversal had nothing to do with a big philosophical debate. It came down to something much simpler, a critical failure of proof on the examiner's part. The board pointed to this really important case, Berkheimer v. HP, and this precedent is huge. It basically says an examiner can't just claim a piece of technology is conventional or routine. That's a statement of fact, and facts need evidence. You got to show your work. And patent rules are super specific about where that proof has to come from. It can be from the application itself, a court decision, a publication, or a formal official notice. And the examiner in this case, they provided, well, none of that. Zero evidence that using multiple AI layers for this purpose was some ordinary, well-understood thing.
All right, on to the second part of the win. This one was all about that obviousness rejection. And here, the board found a totally different but just as major flaw in the examiner's argument.
They called out a classic legal mistake called impermissible hindsight. This is when an examiner looks at a finished invention and then works backward, cherry-picking bits from older technologies to say, see, it was obvious. It's like solving a maze by starting at the finish line. It's just not fair. For this, the board brought up a Supreme Court case, KSR versus Teleflex. The ruling basically says an examiner can't just list some old patents and say, combine these. They have to explain why a regular person skilled in the field would have been motivated to combine them in that specific way before the new invention existed.
And that was the fatal flaw. The examiner never gave that logical reason. They never explained why any sane developer would combine a technology for predicting failure with technologies for improving processes. The two ideas just don't mix. Without that motivation, the whole obviousness argument just crumbled.
So, with that powerful 1-2 punch, dismantling both the abstract idea and obviousness rejections, boom! All 20 claims were back on the table, and the application was sent back on the path to becoming a patent.
So what is the single most important lesson from this case for anyone working in AI? It's this. Broad claims like we're using AI to improve something are really tough to patent, but if you can detail a specific, concrete, and non-obvious method, like using multiple AI layers to transform data, that's a claim that can win. When it comes to AI patents, the details are everything. This decision doesn't patent the general idea of AI-powered optimization. What it protects is a specific method for getting there. And that's a huge distinction that really helps clarify the rules of the road for innovators. It leaves us with one final big question. Is this the ruling that finally opens the door to a clear path for protecting the next generation of truly game-changing AI?